Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Motivational speaker, the comeback coach, and goal crusher Joe Rivera brings you inspiring leaders, incredible stories, and valuable lessons on how you can change, grow, and reforge your life. Now, here's your host, Joe Rivera.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Reforge Your Life show. I'm your host, Joe Rivera, and here at the Reforge Your Life show, we like to show you that the comeback is more than possible. And today, I'm honored to bring my guest onto the show. She's a friend of mine. She's a life coach for women. Coach Glow, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you, Joe. I feel very honored and blessed that you invited me to come to your show. And I know you could have asked a lot of people, but I was one of the lucky ones. So thank you.
I'm blessed to have you on as a guest, and thank you again for coming through. And I mean, listen, I heard your story, and I know it's an incredible story, but there's no way that I could possibly tell it anywhere close to as good as you can. Nobody can. And I'd love for you to share your story with the audience and let them know a little bit more about Coach Glow.
Okay, well, you want me to start right from the beginning? Because I could go through a couple of decades. I'll give you the synopsis.
Yeah, it's your stage, girl.
Okay, born, raised, and educated in the South Bronx. I grew up in Hunts Point section of the South Bronx. My mother owned a bar and restaurant there on the corner of Southern Boulevard and Longwood Avenue. And that's where I was for most of my youth growing up. Very active in the local CYO, just to hang out with other teenagers and not get into trouble. I saved that for later in life. And then finished high school, went to college for a little bit, ended up working in New York City for a couple of years. And I started out as what they used to call a secretary. Today they call them administrative assistant, executive assistant, working in Fortune 500 companies. And then I knew that in my heart that I really didn't like working for anybody because, again, my mother came here from Puerto Rico and right away opened up a business. She was my role model. And my real love was to work for myself. So a couple of years of what I did, I got promoted to sales and management. And then I started out as a career coach and helping people get jobs and prepare for interviews. And Joe, they ended up telling me a little bit TMI. I was there they were giving me too much information about themselves when all I was really trying to do was help them prepare to get jobs. So in 2008, when the recession came, I had to pivot. What am I going to do? I lost my corporate job. And my husband and my son suggested, why don't you become a life coach? Go back to school, get certified. People always come to you. You've got a good way. You're a good listener. And here I am. I've been life coaching for women now for over 25 years.
Awesome. God bless you. Coach Glow, I'm sure that through the transition from working in the corporate world to entrepreneurship, that there's challenges along that way for that transition because it's from one world to another, right? You're getting a paycheck all the time and every week to now you have to start creating your own income. What was that transition like for you through that journey?
That's a very good question, Joe. And I've never been asked that question. So kudos to you. You ask good questions. Well, it was quite challenging, but I'll tell you what happened, Joe. I realized how hard I was working to put money in somebody else's pocket and build their dream. And again, my mom was my role model. I saw how hard she worked, and she had a very, very strong work ethic.
Mm.
So for me, it was really um, applying a lot of the tenacity that I had in helping my employer and working up the corporate ladder. That transition was very challenging because I had never done this before. However, the corporate job felt like it was my business. It was just in my boss's name or whoever I was reporting to because I was doing everything, negotiations, operations, um, calendar scheduling, all sorts of interview scheduling. So it was really, I was developing all those skills, or I should say, I had developed those skills in corporate, and I transition them. The thing is that when I'm at work, I'm getting a paycheck, as you said, and I know somebody's watching me. Now I'm on my own,
Mm.
and having that discipline to keep going and going as strong as I did when I was an employee was very challenging. But I knew I had to do it, and I knew I could do it.
How did you know that you could do it? What made you feel that way? How come there wasn't doubt?
How come it wasn't down?
Yeah, no. I'm saying, how come you felt that you could do it? Was there doubt?
Sure, I did. I had a lot of doubt, Joe. I mean, and again, I was on top of the world in corporate and doing it, for the big man.
Mm.
And I was very good at it. But I didn't have that kind of confidence in me doing it for myself. I'm just being very transparent. I was not uh, completely confident that this was going to work, but I had to do it. I just lost my job, COVID and all that nonsense. No, before COVID, with the recession. It was the recession, 2008.
Yeah.
So I had to do something,
Yeah, no.
and I'm a go-getter. I'm gonna make it work. I don't know how, but I'm gonna make it work.
It's amazing. It never gets tired for me to hear it. But I know for myself and for every other successful entrepreneur that I know, one thing we all have in common is we don't worry about the how. We eliminate the how from the equation, and we just know that we're going to figure it out. And it's so important because for the audience to pick up on that, because you know when you remove that how, it helps you remove parts of procrastination, because that's a big
Mm-hmm.
part of procrastinating, right? Worrying about,
A
how am I
hundred
going to do
percent.
this? Oh my god, all that worry and doubt that comes up. um so you transition from corporate to entrepreneurship. What was some of the struggles that you went through along your journey?
Well, I'm gonna be like real honest here. Like
Oh,
at and I can only be honest. That's just one of my core values in life. Um, I don't know if you know, but I'm in recovery. And when I was actively drinking, it got in the way of a lot of things. I didn't have the resources, or I never was trained to be an entrepreneur. Some people go to school for that, or they have a coach that helps them. I just had to like go right in it, and the drinking, was a big part of the setback. And in corporate, I don't know how I lasted as long as I did, because that was certainly a big factor in my corporate career. So what I used to do was when I had a job, if if I didn't get my way, I quit. If I didn't get the raise that I wanted, I was always running. And now here I found myself, uh, again, the recession kicked in, and now what do I do? So I'm running now to something else, and I didn't know what it was going to be, but it was my husband and son, really. They were like my two pillars who said, it transitioning from a career coach to a life coach should be easy for you because you were always giving advice and people trust you when you're a good listener. So, but again, the struggles for me was my addiction. My addiction, while I was in corporate, then I came out, I did my business. I was sober for a while. I thought I had it, so I relapsed after 14 years. It was it was a shit show. So, you know, now I'm back on my feet. You know, it
Yeah.
just it's been a while. It's been a while, but you know, personal struggles. You know, not just with that, but financially at home, just overcoming a lot of obstacles and things that got in my way. And as you said before, it's not how am I going to do this. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
This is the end result. So that's really what kept me going, and also my faith. My faith is really what helped me the most because I had to start believing in me again.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. Believing in yourself and faith is vital for success and overcoming struggles in life. And I want to get into that, but I want to kind of dive in a little bit more into the addiction and the challenges that it created in your life, right? Because you mentioned the financial struggles, you mentioned the running and the fears, and I just want the audience to really understand, because as you know, coach, and I'm sure a lot of my listeners know, but for those of you who don't, I'm also in recovery, and
Mhm.
I know those challenges that can come up from drinking and drugging, and how life could become completely unmanageable, and we become, a shell of ourselves. Um, so what what did the drinking mindset do to you? Like, where did that cripple you? In what areas?
Finances.
Okay, and
Finances. I mean, I did a lot of damage to our household.
mhm.
And again, it's because I was always chasing that drink. And alcohol became my buddy. You know, when I was happy, I drank. When I was sad, I drank. When I was excited, I drank. When I was disappointed, I drank. And I just chased it, like I said, like you know, always chasing that first high. You know, it was like just like when I was so much younger. You know, with the drinking, I never thought it was. I Let me just back up a second, Joe. I never thought my life was unmanageable, and I never thought I was powerless because I thought my ego was so big that I could not surrender. And I was very, very functional at the same time. So when I would hear about other people and the struggles they were having with alcohol and drugs, my denial was thick. My denial was thick. Like, I'm not like you people. Almost like feeling like I was a little, you know, that one up. I'm not as bad as you. So I learned that denial stands for don't even know I am lying. And I was saying to myself, like, but I'm not lying. I'm not that bad. It's just that when I have a drink, I don't know when to stop. I just keep going.
And the way the mind works, right? Uh,
Yeah, and I remember when I decided to go into recovery and the first time, and you know, I embarrassed my husband so many times. This guy is a saint.
mm,
I am really blessed to have the man I have in my life. He really treats me like royalty. He feeds me like royalty too. He's the cook in the family. That's another main reason I married him because I don't cook. I only make rice and beans and chicken once in a while when he asks me. But he was such a supporter. But it got to the point, Joe, where I'll never forget this. That was my bottom with him. I woke up and he was in bed. He was on the couch. And I went downstairs and I said, "How come you slept on the couch?" And he said, "I don't see you and I don't hear you."
Mm.
It's like, oh. And we had to talk. He said, "You need to do something." And then, like I told you, I went into recovery and I did all that stuff. And then at one point, I just thought, I got this. I don't need to be around. I don't need to be coming to these meetings all the time, hearing the same thing over and over again. I got this. Graduation time for me.
Mm.
My sponsor stopped coming to meetings and I called her and how you doing? She said, great. And I was like, she's great and she's not going to meetings. I'm commuting to Stamford from Westchester County. I go to meetings and I'm not getting home till late and I don't have to go to meetings anymore. And the first party I went to right after that, my husband said, "You all right? Are you going to be all right?" I said, "Not a problem. I'm good. I haven't drank in 14 years." And it's true, the stuff that I learned, Joe, like when I first came in, some of the people I drank with, they said, you're being brainwashed. I later found out my brain needed washing.
That's right.
I was not clear in my head at all.
Mm.
So, you talk about like even getting into a business or becoming an entrepreneur. I mean, I had so much doubt, like, how am I going to do this? I got to get my shit together. So, it just went on. And then finally I started, I was drinking again and my son came up to me and he said, "Mom, me and Michelle are getting ready to have a baby. And if you want to have anything to do with this grandchild, your first grandchild, you need to get back to your meetings." And I was in a meeting that night, and that was 22 years ago. This month, I just celebrated 22 years back.
Congratulations.
But it had a hold on me, Joe. It's like I used to hear things that I thought were corny. Like I'm in the meeting and they'd say, "Well, you're in here, your disease is doing push-ups in the parking lot." I was like, oh my God, these people are like, whoa, they're in trouble. They're bad. They're sick, not me.
Yeah.
And there it was, just waiting for me. I went to that party with my husband and I thought I could have one drink.
Right.
After 14 years, and that gorilla woke up. Wow, I never want to go back there, though. I want to go back there. It was so dark. I look back now and I don't recognize that person anymore because of who I've become
It's
and continue to and becoming.
absolutely, it's a process. We continue to progress every day. It's not about perfection, it's about progression. Progressing every day is where that win is, where those wins are.
Hmm.
And it's incredible, though, right? Like how you could not drink for 14 years, and then all it takes is one drink, and you just don't miss a beat. All it takes is one drug, and that one for me, it's one day of drugging, and I'm right back to my old self.
Yeah.
That's all it takes is that one day, and that's how vicious, you know, being addicted to drugs and alcohol could be, right? If you don't learn how to flip it upside down on its head and use it towards your advantage, and because that addictive personality, man, I mean, it got a lot of things fucked up for me, but it's brought me a lot of greatness in my life because I learned to flip it upside down and use it towards my advantage. And you mentioned how you had to, you had to not not brainwash yourself. Your brain needed the washing. You had to kind of wash your brain out from the drugs and alcohol and start rewiring your brain to learn how to live life all over again. So I'm curious to know, what did that look like for you, as far as, because I'm a big believer in, and I always say, putting the drugs and alcohol down. Nah, that's the easy part.
That's the easy part.
Peeling back the onion, taking stock of who you are, washing that brain and learning to rewire it and relive your life all over again is where the work is. So what did that process look like for you? What was uncovered when you were going through that change?
Well, what was uncovered very clearly to me growing up, Joe, when I first dropped out of college, my mother said to me, "You will never amount to anything. How, you dropped out of college, you're not going to be a statistic, whatever, whatever." I ran with that for decades and decades that I was stupid. It's a big part of why I drank as much as I did. I would be in corporate around people who were talking stock market, talking this. I didn't know what they were talking about, and I felt stupid. When I landed in in AA, like you say, and I repeat those same words. It's only 10% drinking, and the other 90% is the thinking. And I say that to my clients today. Everything begins with a thought. Whatever thought comes to your mind, you give it a word. Whatever the word is, you follow it up with the behavior. But for me, what it really did for me deep down was that I found out that I was not stupid at all. I'm a pretty sharp lady, and I'm very very. Don't mess with me though, because then the Hunts Point comes out of me. No, I'm kidding.
Bronx.
You could take the girl out of the Bronx, but not the Bronx out of her.
Okay.
But I found out so many great things about me. I'm not saying it to be conceited, Joe. It's not that at all. But I thought I was such a loser. I thought not smart enough, not good enough. I mean, I actually ended up writing a book about my recovery, my whole, from addiction to recovery and what it did for me. Because part of the title of the book is, the title of the book is A Girl from Southern Boulevard. And the second line is, "Today I believe in me." That's what recovery did for me. It helped me believe in myself, because when I drank and I was getting high, I was talking about everything I was going to do, and I didn't do any of it. Blah 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 blah. Now, if I say I'm going to do something, or you ask me to do something, you have to be very careful, because when you change your mind, it was already done. Like I'm on it. I get it done. I don't procrastinate. I don't hesitate, because I am not stupid. And that's still a word that when I hear it, Joe, it's like a little, but I ran with that for so many years, and that really increased and affected a lot of my addiction. Even if I wanted to try something, well, you're not that smart.
Yeah, because the limited beliefs that come up from drinking and drugging
Yeah, absolutely.
be detrimental for some people. And you mentioned a couple of them, right? The "I'm not good enough," "I'm not smart enough." No, those are things that get built up, and it's a reason why people sometimes end up doing drugs and alcohol, right? Because they have those beliefs in them, and then
Hmm.
sometimes they're created because of the drugs and alcohol, and it takes a lot to kind of remove those beliefs out of your belief system, right? It takes work to be able to do that, and you can't do that when you have a clouded fucking mind. When you're out there,
Hmm.
drinking and drugging, you're not going to be able to do the work that has to get done in order to rewire your brain. Like it's just, I believe it's humanly impossible, right? Because you're going to always have a clouded judgment. There's no clarity there. And when there's no clarity, you're not going to have success in what you're looking to do. So, I mean, I'm curious to know when you decided to make the change, say, you know what, I'm going to be a part of my grandson's life, my grandchild. You didn't say if it was a grandson or granddaughter, but your grandchild's life. Um, and you made that decision to listen to what your son said. What was what was the first thing that you decided to change?
My lying. I had to start telling the truth about what was going on, what I was thinking, what I was doing. I was such a good liar. I had a master's in it. It was so bad, Joe, that I would not just lying, the shit that I would create in my mind that didn't exist. It did not exist. I created it and then I told you. And if you didn't believe me, it was a fight. When I tell you that this man I'm married to is a saint, he is. Because he has witnessed it all. And and again with my son, I just felt like I can't bullshit him anymore. I can't bullshit anybody. He knows me. No, he constantly says to me, "Mom, I'm so proud of you. Mom, I'm so proud of you from where you came to where you are now." So if for any reason, Joe, let's say something, if I even get the thought to pick up a drink or a drug, just even an inkling, still after all these years, I have to decide. In one hand, I say, do I have the drink? And in the other hand, do I keep my son in my life?
Hmm.
Because my son has made it very clear to me, and I only have one son, has made it very clear to me. I love my mother when she's sober. I love who you are. That's the real you. I talk a lot of shit when I'm drunk. A lot. I talk a lot of shit. My husband used to say to me, you're not the woman I fell in love with. He goes, when you drink, you get, number one, you get cross-eyed. He says, you're not attractive to me at all. And you start repeating yourself and you talk so much shit. I don't want to be that person, Joe. You know, I have become the lady that God intended for me to be.
Right.
And I'm staying on that track.
That's right.
It's the softer, easier way for me.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about what I said to you, what I lied. I have to remember this. I have to, it's just it's so free. It's freedom. For me, being sober is freedom.
Yeah, it definitely is freedom. Freedom from the prison that we build around ourselves when we're drinking and drugging. That's what we're doing. We're putting ourselves in
Hmm.
prison in our mind, because it all starts with the mind. I mean, you spoke earlier about, how thoughts become, feelings and emotions. Those emotions and feelings become your reaction. That reaction becomes your result. And when you're out there drinking and drugging, you're not able to think properly. You're not able to be who you truly are. And that's what happens why, people who go through substance abuse, they end up, being manipulators like you shared, right? It's the master manipulator. Why? Because guess what? You're fucking manipulating yourself. You're telling lies to
Yeah.
yourself. If you're not being
Hmm.
honest with yourself, you can't be honest with anybody else around you.
A
Integrity
hundred
is out
percent.
the window.
Exactly. Hmm.
And it's amazing how, when we start coming into consciousness from, having a clear mind and a sober mind, one of the first things that starts coming clear is, and you mentioned it, right? Is if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Integrity starts kicking in because you start learning that, man, I can't be true to who I am if I'm not authentic, if I'm not being a person of integrity. If I can't, and guess what? You can't be a person of integrity to nobody else out there if you're not have that integrity within yourself for yourself.
Hmm.
And then you start believing the story that you're telling yourself, which is your true self. And that's when you become who you truly are, who you're meant to be. You just spoke about, being the person that God created you to be. Why? Because you're sober now. You have a clear mind. This is the way your creator created you. Our creator doesn't create us, whether you call it God, the universe, the infinite intelligence, whatever you believe, doesn't create you to be out there with your mind all cloudy with drugs and alcohol. No, he wants you to be the best version of yourself by being clear minded. And I'm curious because I hear the belief system that you had to crack through, of not being good enough, not being smart enough to, when we crack through that belief system, I want to say overcome it because I think beliefs, those limited beliefs, they come up every day in life, right? But you learn how to kind of combat those limited beliefs and destroy them when
Hmm.
they do come up and realize that they don't control your life. But while we do that, I believe there's a new belief system that gets created. And when that new belief system gets created, there's core values that are uncovered. And those core values stay true to who we are and they define who we are. And when you achieve sobriety, what core values did you uncover that you lean into now in those difficult times?
Number one, unquestionably honesty. Number two, integrity. And number three, service and helping others. That's, and I know a lot of people say that I've been helping others. I mean, I love sponsoring. I'm sure you're familiar with what sponsors are.
Mhm.
I love, um, for those that don't, it's, you know, basically you have the 12 steps in your life and you're helping a newcomer come in and beginning their new life. And I love that. I love that. I go to online meetings. Right now, I'm sponsoring a woman in Utah, and I got another one in Canada. And it's beautiful because no matter where they are, no matter how old they are, addiction is addiction. When you start talking about it, we're the same. That was part of my denial when I came into recovery because I moved up to Putnam County and I knew I had to go to a meeting and I went in there, Joe. I mean, and I'm not a prejudiced person, but I went into this meeting and everybody in this meeting was white. Everybody in Carmel, New York. Okay. Everybody was white. It was the first Puerto Rican in there that walked through those doors.
Represent,
Now there's
girl.
a bunch, huh?
I said represent for the Boricuas.
And I can speak very freely about this because my husband's white.
Okay.
But that was part of my denial system. And I used to say to them, I'm like, you don't understand how Puerto Ricans drink. I'm not that bad. I'm not as bad as you guys. Um, so yeah, helping the newcomer to me is, so that's my core values is honesty, integrity, and helping others, and it's not just in sobriety. I'm in a couple of networking groups. I help women and support them if they're uh, thinking even about going into business. I'm not a business coach, but I know I work with them on the personal side. And sometimes there are things that only another woman would understand, or they would feel more comfortable talking to another woman. And I'm older than all of them, so I don't know if they look at me as a coach, their mother, their sister, whatever. but I get the point across, and most of them, it's that lack of self-esteem, the confidence, all the things that we've already mentioned, without the alcohol and drugs. And some of them have had addiction issues too, and I've been able to help them with that.
Absolutely. The 12 steps is a powerful blueprint to stay sober. It's a
Hmm.
powerful blueprint. I mean, there's other 12-step programs to stop gambling, to stop
Oh.
overeating, to stop sex.
I've been to a couple of them.
They're there. And you know what? The program works if you work it. And you spoke about sponsorship, and sponsorship is mentorship, right? It's
Hmm.
someone who has something that you want, and they've been where you've been in your worst times, and they know how to get you out of that, and they know the process that's going to keep you going in the right direction. It's the same thing when you get a mentor in business,
Hmm.
and you want to find someone who's done it before you, and they've gone through some similar struggles that you've gone through, and they could show you how to overcome, and get to where you want to be. I'm a big believer in mentorship, when it comes to business, when it comes to the 12 steps. I mean, I sponsor people also, and I think that it's magical what happens when you help someone in any way and you're being of service.
Hmm.
I think that there's magic behind that. It's why I do what I do for a living, as a coach, as a speaker, because it's the gift that keeps on giving when I'm able to empower someone to transform their life, and be of service to someone, whether it's just holding the door open, saying God bless you, getting someone through the steps, helping someone transform their life, giving a donation, whatever it is. That being of service, man, there's no drug, no alcohol will ever will ever give me that euphoric feeling that I get when I'm able to be of service, man. It's
Yeah,
tremendous.
you're 100% right, Joe. And when I first came in, I remember I was so angry that I even had to go there. I mean, it was go there or start looking for your third husband, because my husband wasn't having it. Um, and I was in such denial about the addiction that I remember when I went in, and you mentioned sponsorship. When they told me I had to get a sponsor, I said, okay, which guy can I talk to? And they were like, oh, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. It's the women with the women and the men with the men. And I said, oh, no, I don't like women. I don't trust women. I was brought up in a bar. I'm very comfortable around men. And I said, then they told me what a sponsor was, and that I had to call her every day and all that. I said, whoa, I don't know this woman. She knows me like for 20 minutes, and now I got to be calling her every day.
Right.
But it's just been a beautiful ride. I always say the best things that have happened to me in my life, and I have more years behind me than I have ahead of me. The very first thing at the top of my list, I always say, is I got sober for something that I was cursing at God when I first came in, because I thought I was being punished, and I thought that this was like, why? How did I end up in this place? And today, I am so grateful, so grateful. So the number one thing, sobriety, getting married to my husband and my son. Those are at the top of my list. But without sobriety, I lose everything,
Right.
everything. And
Right.
I'm not going back there.
Isn't it
I can't.
amazing how sometimes we have plans, God laughs at those plans,
Hmm.
right? Because man, I'll tell you, I'm sure you could relate. I plan on getting drunk and high the rest of my life. That was my plan, and man, did he have different plans? And he's like, no, no, I'm gonna save your life, and I'm gonna put you somewhere else where you're gonna be doing a lot more.
And,
That's a lot more productive than drinking and drugging, man.
Joe, you're so right, because just the other day, I had posted on social media because someone asked me, well, not the other day, a couple of months ago, somebody asked me to speak at some meeting they were having. It was not an AA meeting, it was a business meeting to speak to young entrepreneurs. And I said, thank you very much. And I declined. I said, I don't want to speak. I am not a speaker. I don't want to go up on stage. I'll do that in AA, but I'm not going to. Okay. So, and I put it, I actually posted it. Thank you, but do not ask me to speak. I'm only interested in coaching women. That's it.
Yeah.
And then I got another speaking engagement, and through prayer and meditation, this is what happens when you have a clear head. When I pray, he listens. When I meditate, I listen. And I made plans, and he was laughing. And I'm speaking next month at a women's luncheon. You asked me to come on here. Having a retreat in August up in the Catskills where I'll be speaking a lot. So, I just keep putting one foot in front of the other. I don't drink. I still go to meetings. I just started going back to in-person meetings here locally, but my group is online.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody asked me the other day, what made you become a life coach? I said, I got sober. And that's the real truth, because when I saw how I changed when I got rid of the drugs and the alcohol, and how women that I was sponsoring, how they were changing, and I was starting to get the promises that the fellowship talks about, which I thought was bullshit when I came in. I was horrible. Yeah. Every other word out of my mouth was, I was dropping F-bombs all over the place. And I did it so that people would stay away from me. Now I'm a hugaholic. I hug everybody. Right. I hug anybody. Right. And it's so healing. It's so healing for me.
Promises are real, man. The promises are real. I still drop those F-bombs, but not to keep people away.
Oh, I do too. I do too. It's funny that we're talking about this, because I've had women interview me to see if they want me to coach them. I do the complimentary session with them, discovery session. Right. And one of the things I always say to them, if you are offended by F-bombs, I am not the coach for you.
I love that.
Because I am who I'm not going to stop being who I am, because I live by the expression that I learned in AA, which is to thine own self be true.
That's right. That's right. You
my son, my grandson, my husband, the whole family, they all, I've instilled that in them, and I got that from clearing my head.
Love that. Love that. And Coach Glow, speaking of, what you do now, can you please let the audience know what it is you're doing now and where they can find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and on all those three. I'm not on YouTube. I'll be honest with you, I'm afraid of YouTube. I don't want to go on.
You gotta face that.
TikTok. I was on. I had a TikTok account for 15 minutes, and I said, "Oh no, this ain't me. I'm out of here." But Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, of course, and I've got a retreat coming up in August. If I could talk about that, Joe, or just mention it. It's a retreat for women. It's called Perfectly Imperfect. And like I said, it's going to be up in the Catskills. It's all about healing and meditation and finding yourself, and through art and other activities. And there's a lot of camaraderie too. It's open to all women. It's not just for sober women.
Yeah, love that. And what's the handle that they could find you on Instagram? It's going to be in the show notes, but you can share it.
Yeah, it's Coach_Glow_Favreau.
Awesome. And is that the same for LinkedIn and Facebook?
Yeah, LinkedIn, it's Coach Glow Favreau as well.
Okay, awesome. It's all going to be in the show notes. And Coach Glow, a couple of questions that I ask all my guests. The first, what does the word purpose mean for you?
Meaningful.
Mm, sure is.
Being meaningful.
Great way to put it, 'cause that's exactly what it is. And when you hear the word reforge, comes to mind.
Well, for me, reforge in my life was a do-over. A do-over. A do-over,
Yeah.
a pivot.
Love that. Love that, man. God is amazing, isn't he? You're allowing us to have
Yes.
this do over, man. I mean, that's such a blessing. Uh so there's somebody out there today that's maybe even listening to the episode, or they have a friend that's not listening to the episode, but that friend is someone who's struggling right now and they're looking to reforge their life, and they don't have the tools. They don't know where to begin to reforge their life, whether it's in their business, their finances, their health, their relationships, whatever it is. What's one piece of advice you could give someone that's looking to reforge their life to?
Give them my phone number, 914-204-1703. No charge. This is my calling, Joe. This is why God put me on earth. That's one of the reasons I wrote the book. If someone needs help or is reaching out for help, I want to be there. And no, it's like I truly believe in just having that faith in yourself, like that I learned years and years and years ago. All you have to do is have faith the size of a mustard seed. Just just a little faith in yourself. Because a lot of times those struggles and that holding back is because you don't believe in yourself. But don't give up on yourself because somebody does believe in you.
Right, right.
And for me, that's where the word we comes from in the fellowship. First word of the first step is we. It's not me.
Yeah, absolutely.
We help each other.
Absolutely. You know what? You gotta have faith in yourself. You gotta believe in yourself because you have a creator. Again, you call it God, the universe, the infinite intelligence, whatever you believe. That creator created you because that creator believes in you. And that creator wants to know that you believe in yourself so that he can help co-create your life with you. But if you're not believing in yourself, guess what? He's just gonna sit back and wait for you to believe in yourself because he ain't gonna do it for you. He's a parent, and you know what? The hardest thing about being a parent, allowing your kid to fall on their face till they learn. So God's waiting for you to learn to believe in yourself so that you can go and create your own destiny. Coach Glow, what's one thing the audience does not know about you that you enjoy doing for fun?
I used to sing doo-wop on the street corner with four guys. And I still do it. And I still do it at home. Every Sunday I crank up those oldies and I feel bad for the neighbors, but
Oh man, you just took me back to childhood. My mom, my aunts and uncles, man, they used to play those oldies, the doo-wop at the parties, along with the
yeah.
salsa. Oh man, you brought it back. That is
Yeah,
great.
yeah. The salsa is really making quite a comeback now. I just heard yesterday, my husband was telling me he enjoys salsa more than I do. I could listen to like 3 songs and I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
And he just loves salsa. So do you dance salsa? Do you like the music
I
or?
love salsa. I'm not a big dancer, but I do love my salsa. I mean, I was raised on it. It was in every
Uh-huh.
house party. It still is. And yeah,
Do they still have house parties, Joe?
I mean, like it used to be, not like when we were back in the day. I grew up in Brooklyn. before I moved to Long Island. It was just house party every week. It felt like,
Yeah, yeah.
but nah,
We used to have block
yeah,
parties.
block parties too, man. Block parties were the shit. Especially in the boroughs, man. There was nothing better than a block party,
Yeah.
playing Skelly outside in front of the street and in the street, and the water hydrant going off. They don't do it like that no more.
It's
Man.
it's so funny that we're talking about this because Don and we just moved up to we're up in Poughkeepsie now.
Uh-huh.
We're only here 10 months. We were living for over 38 years in Putnam County, and on 3 acres. Living there 38 years, Joe, we didn't really know our neighbors, not even our neighbor. It's just very secluded, and we're in the woods.
Uh-huh.
We're here 10 months. First thing I said to John was, oh, we got to have a block party because this is like house after house after house, and everybody's like super friendly, and like John will cook, and who's got a speaker, okay, we'll get the tunes on, just bring everybody together. But
That's it.
so much of that has been lost.
Yeah.
There's not that connection amongst neighbors and family and friends. Everything's changing so much, but if I could bring it back, why not?
Bring it back, girl. Bring it back. Yeah, it feels like a lost art, unfortunately, because everybody's so like involved in their damn screens, whether it's your cell phone, your TV, your computer. I mean, kids aren't even going outside and playing anymore, riding bikes, and it's just it's a lost art that definitely needs to come back because that connection.
That's what it is.
Important. Connection and community is
Yeah.
vital. So, man, I agree with you. Start up the block party. Let me know when it is. I'm coming through. Coach Claude, thank you so much for coming through. Man, I knew that this was going to be great energy when we decided to do it, and it was even greater than I expected. So, and I didn't think that was
Thank you,
possible.
Joe. I really appreciate you. God bless you.
God bless you, girl. And for all the listeners out there and the viewers, please don't forget LFSS. Like, follow, subscribe, and most importantly, share, because there's somebody out there today that's not listening to the episode. They don't know about the Reforge Your Life podcast, and they're looking to reforge their life, whether it's in their business, their finances, their health, their relationships, and they don't have the tools to start. They don't know where to begin. And you sharing this episode or the past episodes could help them reforge their life. So don't forget to share, y'all. Stay productive, stay profitable, and stay blessed, y'all.
You've been listening to Reforge Your Life with your host, Joe Rivera. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Joe Rivera and how he can help you or your organization reforge your life and regain your place at the top, head on over to withjoerivera.com and follow Joe on all social platforms. The Reforge Your Life podcast was produced by Thrive Loud Productions. Thanks for listening.